What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we've got some interesting topics to go over, and we're starting off with the Nintendo Switch sales in Japan because there's something that's happening that not a lot of people are talking about, and I wanted to go over. And it's quite impossible that this is even being done in the modern age in Japan, but it is happening right now with the Nintendo Switch. So for the past couple of weeks, the Switch has been on a tear in Japan with the Japanese sales. There really hasn't been a lot of new releases, but the strength of the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Minecraft, Mario Kart 8, Pokemon, Splatoon, all of those games have just been bolstering up the Nintendo Switch to sell 100K plus a number of weeks ago, another 100K plus. Also, these past couple weeks, 80K plus, and it's actually vaulted the Nintendo Switch into rare territory when it comes to sales because the system is approaching on 30 million units in Japan alone. That is a very seldom hit number in Japan, reserved for the highest selling systems of all time, like the Nintendo DS, for example. So right now at this point, the Nintendo Switch is at 29,859,077 units in Japan. Once again, a staggering total considering the time that the Nintendo Switch has been on the market, only in its 6+ year or so. Usually it would take a lot longer than that to get to those numbers for any traditional home console or any traditional system in Japan. Now the breakdown goes as follows. The Nintendo Switch OLED model by itself has sold 5,016,090 units. The Switch Lite has sold 5,410,046 units, and the regular standard Nintendo Switch has sold 19,432,941 units. So if you total everything up, the Nintendo Switch needs about 140,923 units in order to pass up that big 30 million milestone. Now, at the rate of sales, the past couple weeks, the Switch has sold around 80-something K plus. So it should get there, not this upcoming week, but the following week. So that's going to be big, and it's going to be even more interesting to see who actually reports that, because we've started to see the steady decline of reports when it comes to the Nintendo Switch sales. And goodness gracious, do not tag RGT in any posts on Twitter or in my comment section when it comes down to this, okay? I'm talking about a lot of other people out there, especially the Twitter commenters and stuff like that, that decided to report on the sales over and over and over earlier in the year when the PS5 was doing better, and then all of a sudden stopped doing it now at this point. But let's get back to the topic at hand here, guys, because Nintendo Switch is once again doing something that is quite impossible. We just don't see this. I think the last system that has done this was the Nintendo DS. I know the 3DS was kind of close to it, but yeah, the Nintendo DS. So I'll have those numbers up there for you guys. But it's interesting nonetheless, because I think that overall, if you look at the software library for the Nintendo Switch, that's the reason why this is happening. Yes, the functionality of the system, portable and also home console, it's literally the perfect system built for the Japanese audience at this point with the lifestyle and the games and everything, but the software is the most important. This is so crucial, and I think that's where a lot of the people that were analyzing the sales and kind of looking at things and comparing and contrasting when talking about the Nintendo Switch sales versus the PlayStation 5, they were not looking at the software sales. That is what's going to tell you what is going to do well or what's going to sell better, or if you're going to see a rebound or not. If you look at the software, the Nintendo Switch, out of the top 30 spots, it has like 20 something spots pretty much every single week. Some weeks it even has all 30 top spots. So if you look at the software, that's how you're going to tell what's going to sell with the hardware. Even if one system jumps above, like if the Xbox Series X does a little bit better than the PS5, which it did sometimes, or if the PS5 does a little bit better than the Switch, which it did early in the year, if you look at the software, that's how you know where the long-term sales is going to be. And I think that a lot of people ignored that and are surprised now that the PS5 isn't keeping up with the Nintendo Switch based on how old the platform is, or based on what other people were saying early in the year when the PS5 was doing better, where I was looking at it and saying, yeah, it's doing better, but it seems like there could be a scalping issue. The software's not selling as much. We're not getting numbers from Sony when it comes to Japanese digital sales. So I knew that there was a disconnect there, and I knew that the Nintendo Switch would probably continue to do well, even being as old as it is, because it's still getting new games, it's still getting big first-party games, it's still getting third-party games, it's still getting quite a number of things. So that's why you're seeing this type of sustained success that really has never been seen before with the platform this age. stage, because once again, perfect build for what Japan is looking for at this time. And also the software is there, where people are consistently buying software and evergreen titles, where in the top 10, you always see games that have been out for years now. Look at the top 10 when it comes down to it. You have stuff like Ring Fit Adventure that came out in 2019. You have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate that came out in 2018. Splatoon 3 that came out last year. Minecraft that came out back in 2018. You look at Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that came out in 2017. So these type of titles are helping to facilitate the long-term expansion of the Nintendo Switch in Japan, and people failed to analyze that, which led to a lot of silly opinions and people saying all sorts of crazy stuff. But this is what you have to look at when it comes down to it. How is that software doing, and how are the evergreen titles doing? Other titles that have been around for a long time that can continue to push the hardware. That's what the Nintendo Switch has, and I think that's what Nintendo's going to do heading into this next generation, because obviously Nintendo is preparing for the reveal of that next system, and I think that they know for a fact that, one, they have to have these titles available for people to play, so I think backwards compatibility has to be a factor in there, but also, two, they have to have the games in that first year, the big heavy hitters that are going to carry the system throughout the launch. So if there is a gap here or there, you're going to have that next Mario Kart, you're going to have that next big 3D Mario game, you're going to have that next big Smash Brothers or something within that first year or two. So I think that Nintendo is absolutely hard at work on those type of games for the perfect reveal of the next system. But we're gonna have to wait and see exactly how it all works out. But speaking of the software and what Nintendo does to carry things, Nintendo's making quite a bit of money on first-party software sales. Now, we all know that. It's like a duh. Yeah, of course they are. But how much money they're making in comparison to Sony and Microsoft is interesting. So there was some data that came out from the FTC's court hearing, their failed take the L court hearing against Microsoft, because yes, FTC took a fat L. So in that court hearing against Activision Blizzard and Microsoft, one of those pieces of information that kind of leaked out there was how much these console manufacturers and game developers actually make in terms of revenue just based off of software. Now, this data is from 2021, so it is a little old at this point. But even if you look at it not at this point with first-party software or just game revenues, the Nintendo Switch is still dominating in that area. So if you compare it to Sony, you compare it to Xbox, Nintendo made $5.18 billion in terms of console market publishing revenues. The next closest was Electronic Arts, or EA, at $4.5 billion. So they're still quite a bit below, 500 million plus below what Nintendo's doing. Now, if you look at it like Take-Two, for example, they barely release any new games, but still, the fact that they were at 2.35 billion, that is still really impressive considering it's all based off of GTA, right, for the most part. But then right there at number 4, the next closest console manufacturer is Sony, and they were at 2.1 billion. So very interesting in that respect. Now, once again, that does not include obviously 2022, where they had God of War Ragnarok, for example, and they also had Horizon. Now, I'm pretty sure it probably went up from that point, but of course, Nintendo has had Tears of the Kingdom. They've had also other big games. 2022, they had Splatoon, they had Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. They had a lot of big games in 2022 as well. Now, next up after that, obviously you see Activision Blizzard, you have Epic Games, you have Ubisoft, and right there at number 8 is Xbox Game Studios with 1.3 billion. So very interesting nonetheless. And Bandai Namco coming in there at 980 million, fueled on anime overall. Now, Square Enix is not on the list. Obviously, Koei Tecmo. There's other bigger publishers that did not make that top 10 or top 9, I should say. But very interesting nonetheless. Nintendo is making a ton of marketing publishing revenues on their first party software and all of that. So you have to also realize with this that in this, Xbox Game Pass subscriptions are also included. So it kind of gives you an idea of how that's working out for Microsoft. But what do you guys think about this? I find this to be very fascinating overall. But this next game that we're going to talk about here might not make the type of revenue that's going to generate huge numbers for Nintendo or Bandai Namco, but it's still a game that I'm very excited for, and that is Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster. We've got a brand new trailer from Bandai Namco, and I didn't really see many websites or people talk about it, maybe because it was the Bandai Namco Europe trailer, or maybe because they've already covered it. Did we have like another trailer? I'm not really sure, but the first time that I saw it was just a bit ago, and it shows off some new footage of Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster. Now for this, guys, you have to remember that this is one of Monolith Soft's beginning games after they split from Square Enix. This was a huge collaboration with Bandai Namco and with Nintendo at the time to get some exclusive RPG content on the GameCube, because they saw that, hey, there is a lacking market for big RPGs on the GameCube at the time, so Baten Kaitos was decided to be a Nintendo GameCube exclusive. And we've got some new footage here, and it's looking incredible. Like, honestly, they've done a great job with this remaster, just completely cleaning it up and really making it look very nice. I'm impressed, because sometimes you get these remasters and they look a little dinky, not necessarily as good as you would have hoped, especially for like a 480p game, but they've brought this back and it looks very good. There's this lava area that you guys will see here that looked very nice. The monsters look detailed. It looks really good for a 6th generation game, but they've done an incredible job of remastering this one. And for those that are interested in this type of game, it's a cool kind of hybrid of what Monolith Soft is known for, with in-depth battle systems and gameplay mechanics, but then also a very unique card-based system as well. You have team members, you have these cards, you have your deck, and really it's a typical RPG like a Final Fantasy or anything like that in terms of story and setup and all that, but then it includes these really cool card elements as well. Now, I'm not a card RPG person at all, but this game actually hooked me when it comes down to it, and the way that they've done it with the cards is very unique and very innovative, and it's a lot of fun. So for me, I think that this is one of those games that you should absolutely check out when it drops on September 15th on the Nintendo Switch. You get both games in there. There's only 2 games in the franchise in terms of 2 mainline games. You get the original game Baten Kaitos, and then you get Baten Kaitos Origins, which is a prequel to the original game, which takes place decades before it. So you get the full story on there. It wraps it up. Everything is right there for you overall. So I feel that there is some room for this franchise to maybe get another game. I just don't know if it's going to happen. But what makes me excited about this is because Bandai Namco is going back into the well of Monolith Soft's older IP. So if one company does it and it's really successful, that means somebody else is going to do it, or that means somebody else is already planning it, because we know what we want when it comes down to it. You Monolith Soft fans, we all know, yes, we want Xenoblade Chronicles X, but that's Nintendo. They got to get that worked out. But Xenosaga, Xenogears, you know, it's starting to get brought up quite a bit more. What about Monolith Soft's old titles? What about this? Baten Kaitos, this game needs to do well. Xenoblade fans, please show up for this, because if you're into Xenosaga or Xenogears, you need to support this. Now, I'm not telling you have to, but I'm just saying, like, it would be really good if this game did well, so it shows a clear drive and a clear passion for Monolith Soft's older titles, so we can get Xenosaga quicker and done very well, so we can get Xenogears and also some of their other games. I would love to see a new age Somabringer brought back from the Nintendo DS. That would be awesome. I'd love to see Attack of the Saiyans brought back as well. Like, there is a lot of stuff that Monolith Soft has done that can be remastered and brought to Nintendo Switch 2. Heck, just bring it to Nintendo Switch. Even if it is a year or 2 years from now, people will still buy it on the standard Nintendo Switch. So in my opinion, that needs to happen. And so I'm hoping that Baten Kaitos 1+2 HD Remaster does really well, which I do think that some Xenoblade fans will show up. But if you're into card-based RPGs, if you're into the old school 6th generation style of Final Fantasy or those type of games, those type of RPGs, this is a game to look out for and check out. So what do you guys think about everything that we discussed here, man? We had a lot of talk about the Nintendo Switch, obviously what they're doing with the marketing revenue of first-party games in comparison to the rest of the big console manufacturers and also big third-party publishers, and of course Baten Kaitos. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Also, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, check out our other videos right here on screen, and we will see you for the next one. Peace.